The young woman rolled over with a groan from the comfort of her soft, warm bed. Bright, intrusive sunlight had begun filtering through her curtains, and was now disturbing her from her wonderful dream. This was a daily ritual, it seemed, as she pulled her covers up over her head with a huff. The rising sun was her nemesis, reminding her that it was time to get up. Reluctantly, she turned in her bed and placed her feet on the cold hardwood floor, cursing the sun for being so punctual. It was Sunday after all. Couldn't the sun take a day off? Or at the very least, an extra hour would be fine. Nobody would have noticed. With a soft curse, the young woman stood to get ready for the day. The old tavern was a ghost of its former glory. For as long as she could remember, her father had lovingly maintained it with tender care. She had many fond memories of watching him work about the large building, fixing the oil lamps that provided light, cutting the wood for the ovens, and other assorted tasks. Yet, like those very memories, her father was a part of her past now, and the inn now belonged to her. Her days were now a blur of sweeping, cooking, and bed-making. This monotony was rarely broken. From time to time, an interesting patron would enter the tavern, bringing with him news from lands far, far away, filled with war, bloodshed, and horror. Here, however, within the walls of this inn, with its wooden tables and chairs polished smooth from years of gentle use, those very tales seemed like fables. The young woman was quite happy with her simple life, and preferred to keep it that way. This day was shaping up to be just like every other. Business was slow, with few travelers moving along the stretch of road. It was spring outside, and the beautiful sakura were in full bloom among the trees. This was the quietest part of the year for her tavern, and she cherished it. The young hostess was just finished up her chores when the sudden sound of the front door opening startled her. A man stood in the entrance, bringing with him the warm smells of early spring. He was handsome enough, she thought, as she smoothed her ruffled and dirty apron with her hands. He was rugged and travel-worn, with dark hair and a short beard that showed a few days of growth. He stood there in a stiff manner that immediately reminded her of the many soldiers and mercenaries that came down this road. His traveling cloak was stained with mud and did little to hide the sword holstered to his belt. "What can I get you?" the young woman asked, her soft voice filling the empty inn like a gentle song. The man stiffened a bit, but quickly regained his composure. The musical sound of her voice was almost ethereal in its gentleness, almost as if it didn't belong to the homely young hostess before him. With an awkward grunt, the soldier cleared his voice. "Yeah, I'd like a room, a bath, and a hot meal," he said gruffly, trying hard not to stare at the odd young woman. "Sure thing, go ahead and try and find an empty table. I'll be with you shortly," she said, with a soft chuckle as she ducked into the kitchen towards the back of the inn. The traveler looked about the vacant inn with a wry grin. She has quite the sense of humor, he thought to himself, as he approached the table nearest a large stone fireplace. The aged wooden chair creaked with complaint under the big man's weight as he gratefully got off his feet. With an appraising eye, the soldier looked about the place. While a little quiet, the tavern had an old, welcoming feel to it. "This place looks like it used to be quite the party," he muttered to himself. Warm and comfortable at last, the man began to unbuckle his cloak and unload his possessions. The hostess hummed some unnamed tune to herself as she worked, putting together a meal of hot soup, bread, and cheese for her guests. Serving plate in one hand and mug of mead in the other, she exited the swinging kitchen doors and weaved her way through the empty tables to the mercenary. "I figured you'd want something cold to drink, to wash down the dust from the road," she began, or tried to, as she came to a dead stop a few paces from the strange scene in front of her. A motley little party had seemed to materialize out of nowhere. The rugged, grizzled mercenary was seated on one side of a small, round wooden table, seemingly waging a one-sided debate with the guests seated about him. To his right, sitting on what looked like a pile of books taken from her father's bookshelf, was a raggedy old teddy bear. To his left, also seated upon her treasured stories, was a pineapple. "Listen, Peter, she could help us," the man said, speaking angrily to the fruit. "I've got this weird feeling from her. I think she could be the one." The man seemed to stop for a second, as if listening. With a grimace, he turned to the stuffed animal. "Whoa now, you disgusting stuffed pig. I was not staring at the hostess' breast," he began, his words cutting short as he made eye contact with the shocked young woman. There was a long, awkward silence between them. "Okay," he began, his hands held in front of him. "I know this looks strange. Believe me when I say I'm not totally weird." Without a word and in record time, the hostess turned on her heel, sprinted upstairs to her room, and slammed the door closed with a foundation-shaking bang. In shocked silence, with little bits of dust and plaster falling from the ceiling onto their heads, The stuffed teddy bear turned to his grizzly companion. You know what? This is all your fault. So, that was the creation, the beginning of this story. And the beginning is a little dry because it's a lot of description and trying to create the setting and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to some of the craziness you guys add to the story from here on out. I'm looking forward to the dialogue back and forth between the male character and the female character, or any additional characters you guys want to add, or any additional rules or mindsets or anything you want to add. Just comment down below, keep it short and sweet and to the point. I'll include you in the story, and we're going to shape this story over the course of Once Upon a Tuesday into something pretty grandiose and epic. I really enjoy writing. I'm glad you guys could be here with me, so thank you very much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Putting together a hot meal. Hey you just, no. Speaking angrily, whoops, wrong phrase. He began, his words cutting, okay, faster. Left alone in her wake, with bits of dust and concrete plaster. Oh no! The teddy bear turned to his damn it! I think that went quite well. It was kind of cool. Just reading to you guys would be great practice for when I have kids.